When I first came across Dazy Lyn, it was the music that caught my attention. The bars, the boom bap influence, the West Coast energy, it felt familiar in a way that reminded me why I fell in love with hip hop in the first place. But the more I listened, the more I realized there was something deeper underneath it all. Born and raised in Los Angeles and proudly half Salvadorian and half Mexican, Dazy Lyn represents a different side of LA hip hop, one rooted not just in style and lyricism, but in healing, spirituality, and self discovery. In just a few short years, she's built a name for herself through pure consistency and authenticity, earning cosigns from platforms like Sway's Universe, collaborating with respected names in hip hop, and building a growing audience completely on her own terms. But what really drew me into the conversation wasn't just the music, it was her story. From battling depression and addiction to navigating family trauma and spiritual awakening, Dazy's journey is about transformation. In this conversation, we talk about her experience with ayahuasca, spirituality, manifestation, and identity. My name is Narváez, and this is Grayscale LA. Dazy, thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you making the time to come hang in the studio.
Yeah.
So look, I've been hearing your music for a little while. I've been seeing some of your clips online, and across my research and stuff, I came across your music. Somebody was like, "Oh, I'm like," because people know I'm Salvi. They know I'm trying to connect with other Salvis, and they're like, "Yo, you should check out Dazy Lyn. She's half Salvi, half Mexican." So I heard the music. And of course, me being a 90s baby, I grew up on boom bap.
It resonated.
Right away, I was like, this is fire.
You know what I wonder if, like, to the people that are younger than us, if I sound outdated to them, because we have acquired a certain ear for hip hop and music, so I get a lot of people my age or older talking about, oh, you sound really good, but I do wonder, what the younger kids are thinking.
That's a good question. I mean, I think, have you had conversations or any feedback from younger people?
Well, I don't really hang out with younger people, but I have a goddaughter and she tells me my stuff is tight. She goes, Nina, you're the best rapper, and she always gives me props, but not really, no.
I think, I think like everything, music is secular. Like it comes back in fashion, certain trends, certain things. And you take somebody like J. Cole, and J. Cole's been on, like relevant for a long time. And he has some of that boom bap sound.
Yeah, he does.
Then you take like a few years back, artists like Joey Badass that were coming back and with that boom bap kind of sound. And there was an arena for them to play. Like there's pockets for boom bap to still be alive,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because of our generation, people that like that music. But I also think that for us, we grew up maybe listening to our parents' music too, and they liked older hip hop. And I know in your case, your pops liked older hip hop too. Mm-hmm. But like I grew up with cumbias and all kinds of stuff. So I have an appreciation for older music, just like, 70s music. My dad used to like 70s music, rock and all that stuff too. So I think that the younger generation, they understand if you love hip hop, the origins of hip hop start in New York with boom bap, the golden era of hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you embody that sound. So even if they don't maybe listen to it regularly,
they respect it.
They respect it.
For sure.
I wanted to talk to you today too, because I feel like a lot of people that see my interviews, I've done a lot of work with Complex, and people know me for sitting down with a lot of musicians and artists. And although that's the case with you, like you're a dope rapper, as I heard more about your story, I'm like, this is good. This is kind of like a conversation that's disguised as like a music interview, but it's like deeper. It's like there's like a healing journey that I want to get into with you. I thought it was really dope hearing some of the stuff I heard you talk about. And I want to start there because I feel like you as an MC, unlike other artists and musicians, your real journey in music kind of starts in tandem with your healing journey.
Yeah,
right?
It goes hand in hand. I wouldn't have had one without the other, because if it wasn't for that ayahuasca trip, I would have never been doing this. During that ceremony, that's when I released whatever fear I had, whatever judgment I had towards myself, caring about how I was perceived. I promise you, I let that go. And I know that it's true because even now, when I go through certain things, it doesn't take me long to get over it. if I go through something embarrassing, if I made a fool out of myself, it does not take me that long. I'm just like, you know what? It's all good. Everybody fucks up, and they're gonna forget about it.
Let's get into that. Like, I knew that you did the ayahuasca trip. You went down to Peru. You tried ayahuasca, but I want to get like even rewind a little bit before that. Like, what was happening in your life? I know you talk a lot about addiction, overcoming alcohol and things like that. And you're sober now, right?
Yes.
How many years sober?
7 years in June.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I recently stopped drinking. My son was just born, right? So I stopped, a little bit before he was born. So I've been off alcohol, off everything for about 1.5 years.
Oh, nice.
And I have to say, it feels good.
You feel cleaner, right?
If you feel cleaner, I would say what I suffered with, and we'll get into this with you too, but I suffered socially. I feel like my social life suffered because I didn't feel like I could go out and like partake in what I used to partake in. It just feels weird, right? But I want to get your take on that too. But let's go back to before you took ayahuasca, right?
Yeah.
What was happening in your life at that time? And like, how did you get down to Peru to take ayahuasca?
Well, what I can say is that I've been battling depression my entire life. Like, I don't know my existence without depression. And I think that might confuse people, perhaps maybe even my family members, because that's not something that I spoke about. But since my earliest memory, I have always felt sad, and now that I'm older, I think that I've come to understand that a lot of that was inherited. It's like in our DNA, and I come from a lineage of depressed people that have been abused in many, many ways. And I think that I came here to break those chains. Aren't we all, right? Like we literally all have that purpose, we just kind of forget along the way. But my mother, she battled a lot with depression, and that's why, like, I've always said that depression raised me, because being with my mother, like, it was really tough. Like, I never want to speak badly about her, especially like publicly, but that was very hard for me, to see someone that is supposed to take care of me be so lost in her sadness. That was really rough, because I felt like, I just need you to get it together. Like, can you please get it together? And it wasn't that my mom wasn't nice to me. My mom was probably the sweetest person that I've ever had in my life. Like, my mom, since I was a little girl, used to tell me how talented I was, and how pretty I was. And she always, she'd always tell me the nicest things about myself. But there was a lot of
there was another side.
There was a lot of darkness and just things that I couldn't accept. I think that I judged her very heavily, because I couldn't understand how my common sense was here and hers was not.
And you being the child.
Yeah, like, I was definitely not a child. I was definitely not. Like,
You had to grow up quick?
Oh yeah, very quickly. But also, like, what I tell people is I faked it a lot of the time. Like, I was never a kid, even when I was a kid. Like, I had grown-up thoughts as a child, and I had a lot of secrets. I would hide a lot of things. And I think I was very to myself. I was very quiet. I hung out with my dad a lot, so I'd say that he and I were always very close. My dad, both of my parents were very involved in my life, but my dad was my friend, and my mom, when they were together, she was a different person. My parents split up when I was about 9 or 10 years old, like, divorced. We lived together, but they weren't really together. They were just It was just fuck around sometimes, and I didn't like that. That's like also like part of my trauma. Like I can't stand watching them like as a child I could not stand seeing them hold hands or kiss
Why?
or I don't know.
Because it felt fake to you,
No, no,
inauthentic,
no.
or
No,
why?
no, no. I can't explain it to you, but I would be enraged. Like not to put their business out there, but like
Right,
I'm
right.
I'm sure they had some type of understanding where they were trying to make it work, but it was more so like trying to be there for me.
Mm.
Um my mom tells me at 4 years old, I used to tell her, you don't have to stay with him for me. Like you can divorce him, you can leave. But she was so in love with my dad that she didn't want to leave him. So she was trying to make it work. Like I knew my mom was in love with my dad, and I knew that he didn't necessarily feel the same way. So I don't know, maybe there was some judgment from my end where it was just like you don't get it. Like he doesn't fuck with you, you
So you
know?
saw something that your mom wasn't seeing, or that she chose to not see.
Maybe. What's really interesting to me and what I still don't understand is why was I not mad at him?
Right.
Like why was I not? I never like held him accountable. It was always her fault.
Even till this day.
Um, no, now I'm like, I understand. Now as a woman, I'm like, damn, like my poor mom. Like I can see why she would want to make it work with her husband, her child's father. I can see that, especially if you're in love with someone. Like you don't want your family to end, and you're gonna do certain things to try to make it work, and you're gonna try to rekindle romance. Romance is important, but I could not stand seeing them have any type of romantic nothing. Like when they broke up, I didn't care who my dad was with, and my mom could not bring a man near me.
Mm.
It was like I was just this little pit bull. And I don't understand, again, I don't understand where it comes from, but I've always been very protective of my mother. I think to a point where I was like controlling and um, just like flat out mean, like very mean. But I,
Mm.
I was hurt too,
For sure.
so it's like
Yeah, you're a kid trying to understand your own feelings too, right? And understand like you're growing up.
certain thoughts would consume me for years. Like now, I can check myself, and within minutes, I stop thinking about something.
Mm.
Like, yes, maybe deep down, I might be mad, and maybe something will trigger me, and I'll think about it, and I'll say, fucking bitch, like that was fucked up. And then I'll be like, nah, I'm not gonna waste my time thinking about this, and I'll shift my attitude. I'll shift my feelings. Like I can shift things now. Before my feelings were in control of me, and I feel like now through through prayer and through also just getting to know myself and to building self-love, I get over it quickly because I'm like I matter more, and I'm so connected to me that it doesn't take over anymore.
Right. That's good. That sounds like healthy growth,
Yeah.
like maturing.
Yeah.
Let's get back to
Mhm.
ayahuasca, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, you decide you want to have this experience, right?
Yeah.
What was happening at that time in your life?
My bad, I be going on
No,
tangents a
that's all good. I
lot,
love it. I
but
love it. Yeah, yeah.
like basically, I had that rough start, with my mother mainly. Um and when they split up, I ended up living with her. I wanted to go with my dad, but I ended up staying with her, and it was really difficult to carry all of that. Like I felt it was a huge burden. It was a very big burden. And many times during my adolescent years, like when I was in high school, I what's it called when you like not idolize, but like suicide ideation.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would think about that a lot, where I didn't necessarily want to kill myself, but I just didn't want to be here. Like I was just so sad. Like it wasn't just what I was going through at home with my mom, but there was a lot of heartbreak in my life as it relates to like guys. I've been boy crazy since I was a little girl. Like I'm telling you, whoever is here now was always here. And even when I was 3, 4 years old, I would lay there daydreaming about what this person looked like and what qualities they had and what we look like.
It's interesting. I've heard you say a couple times now, just in this conversation, whoever was there is still here. You referenced it almost like a kind of like an entity. Like that's interesting. Just even hearing you speak that way. I'm like, okay, so do you what does that mean to you? Like,
I've always had this voice in my head. It could be my own voice or my higher self. It's something else too, because sometimes I can't control it. Sometimes it'll tell me things. I've always said that I'm a little psychic. I don't know if that's just being extremely intuitive. Some people don't believe in psychics, and they say it's just high intuition. Whatever the case may be, I have it. When I was little, the voice would tell me things, and
give me an
they'd
example.
come true. Um, so like, let's say I'd be talking to someone, trying to get information out of them, and just by having the conversation, it'll tell me they're lying, or it didn't happen like that, it happened like this, and they'll show me in pictures. It's almost like a movie. I see it like a movie in my head. That's So Raven, where she's like, and then the little eye.
Right.
That's how I feel sometimes, because sometimes a thought will enter my mind and I'll see something play out. Like if I don't tell you something, like if I don't, like, let's say I'm talking to you and I know I have to tell you something so that you don't go and say something, because I can see how it's going to play out. If I ignore it, it plays out the way that they told me it would. But if I address it and I tell you, sometimes we can avoid it. Maybe it's like, I'm going to hate myself when I see this playing back, because sometimes I don't know how to explain myself and it pisses me the fuck off. Like I'm like, I wish I was like more articulate sometimes. Like that's why I'm so good with the pen, because I sit there and I think about it.
For sure. Yeah, you have time to take your thoughts and put them on paper with I get what you're saying. This is a freestyle.
Exactly. I'm not a freestyler, so sometimes it's very hard for me to spit it out, and
you're doing a good job. Because even for me I identified right away that there was like an entity idea that you were communicating. So I'm like, let me ask her about that, because it doesn't sound the way I've heard anybody express that before.
Wow.
So, and that's why we're even having this conversation. So I think you're doing a good job. I think it's fascinating because I also, like, as someone who's from El Salvador, Latin Americans, we do have a lot of ideology around the spiritual realm, things like that, right?
Yes.
I grew up hearing that, and I'm sure you did too.
Yes.
I had a very interesting conversation with Richard Cabral. I was telling you before we started. So we're shooting his podcast here in episode 1. I hope everyone goes listen to it. We talk about spirituality, and I'm going to get into this with you as well, but he just did ibogaine, which is similar to ayahuasca. It has similarities. It's not legal here yet in the US. So he went to Mexico to do ibogaine. It's another psychedelic drug. But the reason he went down there was because he met with a therapist who's also like a medium, a spiritual medium. And she told him that he had an entity in him that he needed to purge. Yes. So he went down and did this kind of like ayahuasca, he went down and did this ibogaine thing, and he said he was purging for 12 hours, and he felt like a dark cloud lifted off of him.
Can I ask, when did this happen? Like, when did he do the?
He just went 2 weeks ago.
Okay. What you shot with him?
Yeah.
Was that before he went?
That was before he went.
I saw the entity.
Huh.
I saw it.
Hmm.
Like when I was watching, like, it's not that I specifically saw what it looked like or if it was a man but there was something that was taking over. There was something occupying the space.
Interesting.
Yes. And
it's funny you say that, because for people who are watching now, so I'm working on this separate project that I shot with Richard. It's a little short film we're working on, but we shot that piece that was on the screen when you walked in. We shot that piece like a month ago.
Okay.
So it was before he went to do this.
Yeah. Because I mean, I saw what you post. Like when you hit me up, I looked through your page and he was one of the people that were on there. And when I was watching, I was like, something's here. Like, but that's the voice that says something's here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know if it's me, if it's just the high intuition, but I get these downloads all the time. Like I call them downloads. And, you know, what you were talking about, the whole spirit thing, it was always there. When I was a little girl, I was haunted as like, I could not be by myself, like especially in the dark, and like no one would believe me.
So let's go back to this then, right? So because we talked about your trauma earlier, and the way that you had positioned it before we were even in the spiritual realm conversation was about your mom and the relationship with your pops, right?
Yeah.
But now that with the spiritual realm in play that we're discussing, is that something that you feel that the spirits that were tormenting you were coming from your mother? Is that potentially why you're feeling that way?
So her dad, he's from El Salvador.
Yeah.
He practiced black magic. Like there was a very well-known rumor that he had sold his soul to the devil. And growing up, I knew about that. And I also knew that there was a lot of dark stuff that happened with my mom. Like, he was not a good man, you know, and nighttime. It was always nighttime. I swear they were around me. Like I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. I could feel them constantly watching me, just always with me. If I was by myself in the house, I could hear them walking in the hallway or like moving dishes in the kitchen or like just stuff. Like I could hear it and I could feel it, and I was paranoid and extremely, extremely scared. Like I did not sleep well growing up. Like I would fight my sleep for maybe 2 hours before I could fall asleep.
Every night.
Every night. And like as I'd be like falling asleep, if I kind of dozed off a little bit, it was like this rush that I'd feel, and I'd get back up and I'd sit up and I'd stare at everything, and everything was dark. Everything was dark. So sometimes I feel like I could see something standing there, and then I'd adjust my eyes and it was nothing, you know, and I was very paranoid. Very, very paranoid.
Okay. So let's go back to this ayahuasca experience. Keep trying to get no, it's good. We had to backtrack for this to make sense. Now it makes more sense. Walk me through the ayahuasca trip. I mean, you went down to Peru. You obviously were battling all this stuff, you know, from a childhood where you felt like, you know, there was demons haunting you and stuff, to then battling addiction, alcohol, all the stuff, right? You had all this stuff that you brought with you to Peru.
Yes.
Right? Then you take the ayahuasca. What happened on that trip? Describe it to me. Like, what happened?
Well, first of all, I thought I was like the superior human, right? Because all my life I've had this connection to spirit. All my life I've had these downloads. I know that I'm a good person, and I think that spirit knows that. So for me, it was like, oh man, when I get there, she's gonna recognize me immediately. Like we're gonna be friends. Like I really thought that I had a one up on everybody else that was there. But she whooped my ass. It was a very humbling experience because you think you know everything and you realize that you don't know shit. This world is too big. We're literally like we're a little speck, and the way that the world just opened up for me in during those ceremonies really let me know that it doesn't matter, nothing matters, and I need to stop taking myself so seriously, and I need to stop being so judgmental, and not just towards myself but towards my mother. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not too judgmental towards like people. Like people can tell me shit and like I'm not like, oh my god, and like running with the cheese man. Like I'm really not like that. I'm actually very trustworthy, and I've always been that way too. Ever since I was little, people would tell me secrets. They would just tell me, and I'd always think, how do they know that I'm not gonna say it, like repeat it? How do you know that? Like I know that. I know I'm not gonna say it again, but how do you know that?
Hmm.
And I'd always like, even to this day, I'm a hairstylist, so people tell me their business all the time, and I promise you I forget it the moment they walk out. And
Hmm.
I channel too while I'm cutting their hair. A lot of times throughout the years I've channeled where I've given them messages from spirit,
Hmm.
and I'll be spot on.
Uh, is that something that you practice, like being a medium, like in that space?
No, I don't practice it. It just happens.
You're just there, and like you said, you feel a download and
Yeah,
you
it
say
just
it.
happens. Yeah, it's not like I can make it happen. It's just something that you say maybe
Hmm.
will trigger the voice to say something after that.
Right.
And there are times where I'll repeat it. Like I'm very like confident with myself, so I'll say things. Like I'll be like, what? Like I don't mean to pry. I don't mean to be nosy, but this, that, and the other. Take it as you want it. And I love the gift, but at the same time, it's a hard gift to carry because you are now responsible to walk away from certain things, to make better decisions, because when you know better, you have to do better. And I feel like I know better so much that I have closed the door on everything. And it's a very lonely road. But at least I have my self respect, and can't nobody play with me, the way that it used to happen,
Right.
because it happened a lot.
So, so what I'm gathering is, I mean, after you went down to Peru, after you had that experience,
Hmm.
your mind opened up. You saw things differently. Then
Yeah.
you came back. You obviously made changes based on the new experience, right? You let alcohol go. You made certain
Yeah.
changes, right? Is that kind of how
That's
it happened?
exactly how it happened. When I left, the reason why I left, so my mom, I don't think I've ever said this, but my mom became homeless uh 8 years ago. And when it happened, I had just gotten my first studio, my first hair studio, in Koreatown. So this was my first space that was mine. Not only was it very depressive and dark and the demons and the heartbreak, but it was very fine. Like the financial aspect was really rough. Like I was angry because I was just like, fuck, like why can't we ever have anything? Why can't I buy anything? Why can't, like I always like, I was not fly. Okay. I was not fly because I did not have the money to buy it. In my mind, I was fly. I'd be like, man, when I get some money, when I start to touch some money, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy this, you know, and that did not come for a very long time. Like I used to literally be hungry because I'd have to stretch out a certain amount of money throughout the week to make sure I would eat here and there, you know, so that was like, that was rough. So when I got that first place, I was super proud of myself, right? I was like, wow, like this is mine, you know, and I get to decorate it how I want, and I had some money. Wow. The feeling when you have money is crazy. You know, I'm sorry. that was so different for me because I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to like try to spread shit out. Like it was like, no, I can buy this and this and this and this and this, and I can put it all up. And I was so excited because I feel like I've always had style, you know, whether it was in my clothes or my decor, you know, like I was so excited to finally decorate something that was mine. I think I was there for like a month, and then my mom comes and she says that she lost her place. And we had Section 8. Section 8, you cannot lose Section 8. Like, good luck getting back on that shit. I don't know if you know about Section 8.
I'm not sure. Can you explain that to me, Section 8?
Section 8.
It's like government housing?
Yeah, government assistance. So basically, when I was about 13 years old, we got Section 8, and we were able to move from the single that we were in. I was in a single with my mom and some homeless bitch. Like this lady that drove me fucking crazy. She lived with us for 3 years, and I hated that lady. I hated her so much. I begged my mom to kick her out so many times. She wouldn't. So from there, we got the Section 8, and we finally moved into this 2-bedroom because the rent was dirt cheap, like super cheap. Okay. I got my first bedroom, right? So I was like super excited about that. Finally, privacy. But she lost the apartment because she was so deep in the depression that she just didn't show up. She quit life. You know, for years she had told me, you know, how much she wanted to also die. You know, that to me, like, I'm desensitized. Like that don't mean nothing to me. When I hear her, when she tells me stuff like that, it doesn't, oh, like I'm not crying and like, mom, please. No, like I'm so desensitized to that. I've heard that forever. I know this. You know what I mean? Like that, this is not news to me. So when she finally really quit life and she lost her apartment, I was like, oh my God, this big child of mine, like, what am I gonna do? And at that point, I hadn't lived with her maybe for, I don't know, 5 years. I hadn't lived with her. I had been staying with my dad. So this happens, and I'm like, damn, like, I was only there a month by myself. And I said, well, God, I guess you gave me this place to house her in it, you know? So I had her move into my hair studio in Koreatown, and she was there for 3 years. And then COVID happened again. This time I'm not crying for real, but oh.
You're good.
The money was the one that made me cry. It was the money.
But you know what though? It's funny because I could see that there's pain there, but it's not money. It's because I could see that you felt your entire life that you've had this potential and these dreams, but you haven't had the resources, and your hands have been tied. While you've had these dreams, and you're like, I can't do any of these dreams or manifest any of these dreams because I don't the reality outside of me doesn't give me the potential to do it.
I can't do anything.
So I saw that pain. Like, I understand where
Yeah.
that comes from. I know
Yeah.
it's funny, it's like money, but like it's deeper than that. I see
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah, you know, especially when you're shallow as fuck and vain as fuck and materialistic. Like, I had all these things, you know, all bottled in me, you know, and I'd go to school wanting to look fly, and I had Vans on or Chucks on because I could not get Jordans or Nikes or whatever. Like, no. Or I had these fucked up jeans. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just not what I wanted to look like. So there was a lot of jealousy too. A lot of jealousy that I was dealing with, because I'd look at other people and I'd be like, damn, like, new shoes every week, bitch. So who gets them for you? You know, like,
Right.
your fucking daddy gets, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, you know, so it's like, yeah, it hurt. It hurt. But I mean, I had a roof over my head, you know.
And fast forward today, you look fly all the time. Like, I know
you.
people look at you for your style now too, your music and your style. So, you know, full circle, you didn't have it then, but you got it now.
Thank you.
Know?
Yeah, I mean, I make it work. You know, I'm still on a budget. I'm balling on a budget. You know, so it's like I do my best. I do the best with what I got. You know, I think my entire life has been a DIY project, and it has definitely poured into this life as well, my new life as a rapper, even as a hairstylist. Everything has been DIY. Yeah.
But so let's unpack a little bit more about what you were saying with your mom. So I can only imagine that that would be such a terrible call to get, is like, you know, your mom, who you've always been already protective of, now all of a sudden is homeless and you have to take care of her, right? So first of all, how is your mom now? Is your mom still around?
Yeah, my mom's around. She is in a better place. She still doesn't have necessarily a home, but she's somewhere where it's kind of safe. So that's why I'm like, okay, I think I can kind of speak on this now. I never have, but it's still scary, you know. Like, she's on Skid Row, like she's in that area, which I don't want her there. She doesn't belong there. Like, the type of person that she is, she does not belong on Skid Row, you know. But that's where they have provided some type of housing for her. So for now, it'll do.
That's really tough. I mean, I really feel for you in the situation you're in, because again, you've got these big dreams and you're doing a good job of doing your best with what you have, of like trying to realize these dreams. Like, being a rapper or any kind of musician, any artist that I've ever talked to, everybody knows it is one of the most challenging things to do. To be an artist that makes it to a top tier level is so hard. And I feel like you already, like you said, with all the challenges you've had, you're still doing a good job of getting attention, of getting noticed. You know, I'm sitting here because I found your music. Somebody sent it to me. So the music already and the artwork speaks for itself.
Thank you.
But then in your real life, in your day life, that people don't see you as an artist, you're thinking about your mom in Skid Row. You're thinking about your business. You're thinking about paying bills.
Yes.
And it's like, man, that's a really challenging life. And a lot of artists come from some kind of support, whether it's family support or someone who was already in the music industry supporting them, or a record label or some kind of support. And you really are doing it like off your own strength.
Yeah, that, and also I can't exclude my dad and my stepmom. Like, because of their help, I've been able to pursue this. Otherwise, it would have, if it wasn't because they helped me, I would have to just be a hairstylist.
Right.
Like, I would have to. Like, there's no other way. Like, or if I did music, it would be like a once in a while kind of thing.
Right.
Like, ever since I started, I've been full time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, I take breaks here and there. No, ever since I started 4 years ago, I have given it my all. I've been consistent. I've been busy. I've scheduled myself to do certain things. I've been in the studio, putting singles out, like just constantly busy, so
Yeah.
that is the real reason why I'm able to do that, because I have the support of my dad and my stepmom.
That's amazing. Shout out your pops and stepmom, because I
Yes.
mean that part of the equation was necessary to
It
get
was
you
it
here.
I mean, my dad saved my life.
I didn't expect, when we sat down to do this conversation, that we were gonna get into this kind of. I thought we were gonna have like a
Mhm.
conversation about healing,
Mhm.
but the fact that you've opened up, I appreciate you being vulnerable
Mm.
and honest about like your mom and all the stuff that in the spiritual realm that you've
Mhm.
experienced, because I feel like that's not a mainstream conversation that people talk about. Like I saw spirits when I like people don't talk about that. So
Yeah.
you being open, I appreciate that, and I welcome those kind of conversations here, right?
Yeah.
I also love that we started with that, because I feel like it really leads me now to understand your music even more. Because when I hear your music right off the bat, it's like, yeah, dope beats, cool boom bap, great voice, but there's also a lot of vulnerability. There's also a lot of spirituality.
Mhm.
Do you ever feel like, you've battled with vulnerability in your music, or it always had to be that way?
No. Whenever I see that it could be beneficial for someone, then definitely I do. I share my testimony, because that's what this life is all about at the end of the day. Like, imagine having all these lessons and keeping them to ourselves. I think that that's very selfish,
Yeah.
because when you discuss things that have happened, you tap into other people's minds, you expand their minds, you expand their perception of things as well, or when people resonate with you, it's like you give them also the power to seek within themselves, like what they need to fix, because they're like, man, if she did it, then I could do it too. And that's the cycle, that's what God asks of us at the end of the day, is to share,
Yeah.
and that's what I do. Like, at this point in my life, like, I'm not mad at my mom. I understand her. When I was young, I was angry. I was very angry. I badmouthed my mom a lot, and I do ask God for forgiveness for doing that, because this she's the reason why I'm here. She went through the labor, she went through the pain, and my fragile ass mom had me. I still haven't had any children. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think, she's pretty strong if you think about it. All the bullshit that she's gone through her life, I'd say my mom is very strong.
Yeah. I also, even just to speak on your mom, because your mom is Salvadoreña, right?
Yes.
I know that my parents, and I think the whole country at that time, probably when your mom came to the US, she's probably a product of the war,
War. Hmm.
right? So for those who are watching that don't know, El Salvador had a huge civil war in the 80s and the 90s. So
Hmm.
that's probably the wave that your mom came from, that war. So aside from, her father being, into brujeria and stuff
He
like
was
that.
also military.
And see, so like military into, witchcraft, brujeria, there's already traumas there that she was experiencing and had baggage with her, and then probably witnessing and being in this civil war and having to leave her homeland to come to the US. So there's a lot there to unpack, and
Oh yeah.
I think for those who've like talking to my parents too, there's traumas that they've experienced that I know stick with them till this day. My dad still has safety concerns all the time.
Yeah.
He can hear like a noise, and he's unsettled
Yeah.
very easily, because he experienced a war. It's
Hmm.
like post PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, right? So I think that a lot of people who've gone through civil wars understand what we're talking about. But I feel for your mom, and I hope that
Hmm.
she does get the help that she needs to get back on her feet? It sounds like she's getting there, which is good.
You know what I've seen from her lately is I think she beat depression finally.
That's
You know,
amazing.
yeah, and that's something that I never thought that I would see in my lifetime. Now I feel like she smiles more. I see that she's out with her friends, and that makes me happy, you know, cuz she's not rotting in a room. I'm happy to see that she's doing better.
I know you're a believer of being able to bring things to reality through thoughts, through speaking. Um, Talk to me about, I mean, like, even the things you've been able to manifest so far. Like, I mean, I was, as you walked in, I was listening to your album. I'm like, this is incredible that, Daisy just started, realistically
Yeah,
taking
realistic.
rap
Yeah, yeah.
seriously, maybe like 4 years
4 years.
ago.
Yeah.
And you have Havoc on the album. I'm like, you should get
God
like Mob
bless.
Deep,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
legend, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It just like, and like, you got Sway's attention, right? Like just the things that you've accomplished so far in such a short amount of time. To me, that it doesn't sound crazy when you talk about the downloads and manifesting. It sounds very like strategic,
Yeah. I'm very
very
strategic.
intentional,
Yeah.
right? Talk
I'm
to me
very
about that
strategic,
and like
very
how you've
intentional.
accomplished these things.
Yeah. I mean, coming from a place where all I ever thought was negative things, I had to change. Like I had to do it. You are what you think, and what you think you are, you become. So this is all training. This is not something that I already had within me. It's like abs, when you go and you're working out and you're maintaining your abs. These are spiritual abs. You have to constantly work at. Like just because you reached enlightenment doesn't mean that you no longer have to work. No, you have to continue. You have to keep at it. This is a forever thing, because otherwise you're going to lose it. You're going to forget. Everything comes with practice. And the whole manifesting thing, like, it was God basically giving me validation in certain things that I would do to make me more confident so that I could say, I can do it. Like, wait a minute, like look at all these things that I've done. Nothing's out of reach. Nobody is out of reach. What do they say? 6 degrees of separation. And I'm living proof of that because I've re-met people in different times of my life. I've met people as a security guard, to I've met the same person as a hairstylist, to I've met the same person in a studio where now I'm working with them, and they're just like, yo girl, what the fuck, you've had so many lives. God showed me I could do it, so I don't question God. If there's anything that happens in my life that may be perceived as negative, I know better to know that it's leading me towards something better. I don't resist. Anybody that shows that they don't value me, no matter how small it is, the door is very open for them to walk out of, and I will not hold anyone back because, again, God has showed me that he or she, whatever, has my best interests at heart. So I don't fight God about anything. I know that something better is coming around the corner. Like I don't really think about doors closing. I don't think about that stuff. It's like maybe it's a no for now because there's a better yes is coming. And it's going to be so much better.
I love how you said that. I also love the way that you positioned almost like a puzzle piece, like the previous lives that you've had, how they stack into position to then present day build a broader picture, like a puzzle.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people look at something that might have been a failure or a past experience, and they never correlate it back to present day. And that's a big miss. Because in your case too, like just hearing your story, like being a security guard, I think I know this story. You used to be a security guard
Yeah.
on the NBA courts. Game was there. Fast forward, you're in the studio with Game. And again, it's just like hearing that story. I'll let you tell me that story. That I feel like that's fascinating. But the point that I was getting to is, if you miss some of the puzzle pieces early, or you dismiss them, you miss the bigger picture later.
You just become the victim. It's like you have to choose. Everybody has a story. My story doesn't make me more special. It's everyone has a story. Like I refuse to believe that there's one person in the world that has never suffered. And the difference between a lot of people that succeed and people that don't is the ones that succeed don't let their story define them. They use that as fuel to make change, to understand themselves better, to create different habits, like we are in charge of our life. And when I realized that, I took power over my life. I regained that power that maybe I had given to others unknowingly. So to me, it's like, it's so easy. Life is so easy. Now I say that. Before, life is so hard. No, life is so easy. You just have to not resist. And go with the flow and do your best. And be a good person. If you owe people money, pay them back.
I saw you look at someone.
Give me my gun.
someone out there knows who they are. They're looking at that like, oh.
No, just be a good person,
Right.
like quit fucking burning bridges.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't really, it's rare when I burn bridges. I'm a villain in someone's story.
As I get to know you more too, there's always a duality, almost in every sense of your artistry, your personal life. And I think with your artistry, like going back to your music, when you think about, boom bap rap and just like spitting, there's this like hard facade that comes with that. But then your duality with that is that you're very vulnerable when you do it. So there's this hard element, then there's a soft element.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that duality. I mean, it seems like hip hop, especially that era of hip hop, that sound of hip hop, that boom bap, doesn't always like lend itself to vulnerability, but you've kind of found a pocket in there where you make it work. You just fuse these two things.
Well, I feel like everything is a reflection of me, of how I do things, and I've always been this kind person. I'm soft, right? And like I treat people nicely, but there's also a very aggressive part of me, that is, again, very protective. I'm very brave. I've always been that way. When I'm doing music, it's very easy for me to tap into both of those sides. People say, oh, when you talk, you speak differently. You have a different tone. And then when you rap, it's like, ugh. And that's those are both of my personalities. They are both very real. None of it is fake. I'm not faking none of it. I am this very sweet and calm and chill person, but I'm also like, I'm like that,
Yeah, I heard you describe yourself earlier when you were talking about protecting your mom as a pit bull. You're like, I could be a pit bull, but I do, like right now in front of me as we're having this conversation, I'm like, oh, she's really sweet. She's really kind. Like you have a kind essence to you. But I could also see that for sure in your music. And if you had to, you would become aggressive, right?
Yeah,
so I see that duality in you. I also see the duality even in your approach to the sound. So like you're the LA, your album's the LA baby. You're very West Coast, but then the boom bap sound is very East Coast. And, sometimes I'll see you wear Timbs and stuff. I'm like, that feels super East Coast. But then you're also like there's palm trees in your shot. It's like a mix
Yeah.
aesthetically.
Yeah.
How do you find that people, perceive that? Do you find like the West Coast, do they embrace the boom bap sound, or do you feel like you get a little bit of resistance from people in the West?
Honestly, if I do get resistance, I don't notice. I keep my eyes on my own paper,
Yeah.
like heavily. I've been blessed to receive a lot of support. When I look in the comments, it's 95% positive. Like it's very, very, very few people that tell me negative shit. And I'd like to think that it's because they recognize the realness, the authenticity. I'm not forcing anything, and I think that I have the upper hand in that, because I'm really not trying to portray something that I'm not, but I do like to incorporate my interests, and my interests are, East Coast shit and West Coast shit. I've always been like that since I was a little girl. Even when I was a little girl, I was rapping to East Coast shit. And it's not even that I knew that it was, it's just a sound that I really gravitated towards. So for me, it's very natural.
It comes off flawlessly. Like,
Oh, thanks.
I like the fusion. I like watching the music video and seeing the palm trees, and then seeing you in Tim's, and then like you're spitting. Like the fusion is really cool to me.
Thank you.
That's what attracts me to the music. I'm like, I told you, me and my wife were listening to it in the car today, and my wife is like, "Yo, this is like what we grew up on. This is dope."
Oh, thank you,
right?
Man, you should hear my new shit. My new
I'm
shit's
hyped.
way better than my old shit.
I'm ready. We didn't talk about this too much, but being a woman in the music industry, being a woman in hip hop, you're seeing more of it obviously through the years, but it's still a male dominated space. Like the majority of the big hip hop acts are usually men or male groups or whatever, right? How have you found that being a woman in this space? Like, have you had to work harder? Have you had to prove yourself more? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
It's home. I've kind of always been in those dynamics growing up, like, elementary school, middle school, perhaps I had a little more of like girlfriends. But then when high school came around, and I started like going out and stuff, I would hang out with the guys because the guys were outside. The girls were inside because they were being taken care of and sheltered. You see what I'm saying? Like most of the girls that I would hang out with were like at home. So for me, it's been my life to always just kind of be around the boys, and it's not hard for me at all because it's so natural for me. What I will say is I'm glad that I stepped into this during the time that I did, where my mind's not in the gutter anymore, because I feel like I could have been really messy, if I came into this younger, searching for love in the wrong places. Like I've had a lot of self-control and discipline. And I think that you need it as a woman, because if they sense that you can be cracked, they're going to try to crack you. And I'm talking about, in a sexual way.
Right.
Like they're gonna, if they think that you're with it, they're gonna come and get you. And unfortunately, there is a double standard. If men are doing that, they're considered fly, and they're admirable, and it's not like that for women. If you are an easy target, then consider a lot of doors closed on your face, because they're just gonna judge you and want to keep you out of the room. you know, like it is what it is, you know. So I'm glad that my mind's not there. Whatever.
I want to end on something very lighthearted with you.
Ooh.
Okay. So I know you're half Salvi, half Mexican.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a series of questions, and you have to pick one or the other. Okay. You're going to tell me. Okay.
I'm about to piss some people off.
Okay. So first, pupusas versus tacos.
Pupusas.
Pupusas.
Yes.
You're going for pupusas?
I love pupusas.
Okay. You got it. What's the best pupusa spot in LA that you go to?
The best pupusa spot in LA. There are two that come to mind. There's one off of Pico and Western. I don't know the names of these places. I just be going in there. It just says pupusas and I go in there.
Right.
Pico and Western. And then there's one on King and it's across the street from the car wash. It's by King and Western too.
Okay, dope.
I forget the names. Like I'm really bad with names, but
I'm gonna hit those up for sure. And I think I know which ones you're talking about because anytime I see pupusa, I'm like, okay, I'm a mental note. I'm gonna come back to that one. But there's so many, so I'm trying to figure out like which are the ones to go to.
There's a lot. You know what? Like people be like, oh, I prefer these from here. It's really rare when I don't like food. Like it's really fucking like your restaurant is trash if I don't like it because I'm not very picky. Like I've ate with picky eaters that are like, oh, yeah, I don't like this place. The place over here is better. And I'm like, I don't see the difference. Like they're cheesy, it's warm. Like if the curtido is spicy, I'm pissed. Do not make my curtido spicy. I'm gonna be fucking heated.
I've only had that a couple times here, but yeah, there's been some spots. I'm not gonna call them out.
Call them the fuck out. I hate when people make my food spicy and I didn't ask for that shit. Like especially if it's not supposed to be spicy. Like right. I hate when people just think that everyone needs to like spicy food. No, the fuck they don't.
Curtidos, for those listening, is typically not spicy, but some people here I found put some spice in it. But typically, it's not a spicy condiment. It's not a spicy topping. So no spice for Dazy Lyn.
I'll talk so much shit if there's spice. And like, oh, I hate it.
But what about your Mexican side? You didn't grow up with spice? I know Salvi's, we don't eat that much spice. We have some, but not a lot. But Mexicans, like my wife is Mexican, and there's like the hot sauce and the salsas and the jalapenos. There's a lot of heat.
Well, here's the thing. The Mexicans that I grew up with was my dad and my grandma. That's it.
Right.
And they don't eat spicy. My dad also hates spicy. So we just didn't have that. You know what I mean? Like I was never. No.
Okay, let's move on to the beverage. Okay. So horchata mexicana. Okay. Mexicana. Instead of Salvadorian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? I can't stand the polvo in the Salvi one.
The Salvi horchata,
like, if I go to, let's say, a pupusa place, usually it's Salvadorian and they have the Salvadorian horchata. I will pick up the straw and take it all the way to the top and drink from the top. Because they have all this fucking polvo down. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's like sand. I don't know what it is. I can't stand that shit.
That technique, I do that technique too. So the thing, the Salvadorian horchata, I forget what it's called, but it's a mix, right? And it does feel like grainy sand at the bottom.
Ugh. I've like literally like, you know, when I was in my younger days when I just wasn't too familiar yet,
right?
I would just thinking that all horchata was the same. I would literally have like sand in my mouth and I'd be like, what the hell is this?
Okay, so Mexican win there. Okay.
Yes.
Pan con pollo, which is, or pan con pollo, pan con pavo, pan con chumpe, right? Or a torta.
Pan con pollo.
Pan con pollo is delicious.
Delicious. Oh my God. It's just, I just the juiciness, the white bread, I mean, everything is just delicious. Um if you gave me to choose between those at any given moment, I'm choosing pan con pollo. I don't like pan con chumpe. I'm not like a turkey eater. I don't like it. I like chicken and I
Yeah.
like asada. That's pretty much it. So pan con pollo all the way.
Yeah, Salvi pan con pollo is delicious too with the sauce.
It's the sauce for
It's
me.
the sauce.
It's the sauce, because I don't know, I just love how juicy it is.
Although Mexicans have tortas ahogadas too, which is like the wet ass sandwiches, right? I've had those too. Those are amazing. Those rival the pan con pollo, but I still love the flavor of the salsa.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm going with pan con pollo.
Curtido or guacamole?
Ooh, hold on. That's a fight right there. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to go with guacamole because the only time I eat curtido is if I'm eating a pupusa or like some yuca, shit.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, yuca.
Guacamole, though, I can throw on a quesadilla. I can throw on a sandwich, on my carne, on pollo, on my rice.
That's true.
I mean, I can put the guac anywhere.
It's true. It's more versatile. I mean, I tried putting curtido on other things, but
I can even eat it dolo.
Yeah, curtido is amazing, but you're right. It is primarily for pupusas and yuca.
Yeah.
Although you could put on some other stuff, but the guacamole is just more versatile.
I've never ate it any other way. If I'm eating curtidos, because I'm having pupusas.
You reminded me though of the yuca.
Or the yuca, yeah.
Now
But the yuca is fire. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one's always a fight with every Mexicano for me is tamal Salvadoreño or tamal Mexicano.
Salvadoreño.
I agree 1,000%.
It's the texture for me. I love the softness. I just love how it's the texture.
They're also just more moist. I find that tamales from Mexico, at least from the regions that I've had to, Mexico's a huge country, right? But like from the regions here that I've had a lot of in LA, they tend to be a little bit more dry.
I have to have them with crema.
Yeah.
In order for me to like swallow it, because there's so much chewing.
Yeah.
And it's dry, and I'm like, like I need to have like cream, like sour cream or something on there to make it juicy. You're right.
Although there's one guy that I have met here, his business is called Heart of Masa.
Yeah.
He's the only Mexicano that I've seen that makes it similar to like a Central American tamal. It has, I think it's because he uses manteca and stuff, and it's just more moist. So I will say there's some Mexicanos that make it like nice and moist, but for the most part, Salvi tamales win.
I've only tasted my grandma's tamales. I've had a few tamales here and there, but sometimes they make them spicy and it pisses me off.
Right.
Yeah. So I get turned off real quick. But like my grandma, that was her thing. That is her thing. She's still here. So, doing tamales is like my birthday or holidays, or even just some random ass day during the week. She'll just be making tamales. So her tamales was what I grew up with.
Tamales from abuela are always, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
I mean, homemade. The last question I have for you is, you being a dope MC with a dope voice, who is the greatest rapper of all time?
Oh, man. Dang. Of all time.
Of all time. This could be East Coast, West Coast, any era.
Nas. I'll give it to Nas.
I think that, Nas is in a lot of people's top 5. Now, I think I would give it to Nas too. Everybody who knows me knows I love Nas. Nas was the first concert I ever went to. Like I've seen Nas the most live out of everybody. Yeah. I love Nas.
Yeah, me too.
I love Nas. Nas, and I love Wu-Tang. But Nas for sure. And I saw you recently. You were with Nas. You got to kick it with Nas too. I was like, how is Dazy with all these legends? Like you got Havoc on the album, and I saw you with Raekwon and stuff. Like
it's God. God gives me the validation. You know, God is like, I told you to keep going, didn't I? So I'm just being obedient. That's it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Dazy, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
through. This was dope.
Thank you.